Hey, so again, I know we just did this, but I guess let's just backtrack and kind of go into it a little bit. So you were talking about how live in Louisville. We were talking about like the concerts and everything, which is, a great fun. And can you tell us again about like when do you usually start training?
I start my training as early in the day as possible. So right now I'm waking up at like 3:50 to try to get to the gym by 4 to do my cardio. And
Hmm.
then I try to get my lift in as soon as I can after that, is however my energy permits.
Hmm.
So I do like
Hmm.
to train early in the day so that I can kind of taper down throughout the rest of the day energetically.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, for sure. And it's like I have the same issues. Like as I've gotten a little bit older, like all my energy seems to be like majority of it is concentrated on like the earlier part of the day. So if I don't get my workout in during that time after 1 or 2 p.m., I'm like completely useless, at least in that, aspect of it. So I can get like some of the other stuff done. But yeah, I know I completely get where you're coming from. Can you also like talk about, how you got started with working out and training and the fitness industry?
Yeah, so I have a long backstory with how everything started, but in a nutshell, when I was about 15, I was getting bullied at school for being thin and skinny.
Hmm.
And it just got to the degree where I didn't think that I could stand up for myself anymore. And so I was worried about physical fights. Like if someone pushed me, I know I'd fall down.
Hmm.
And it got to a degree where I went to my dad, who was a police officer at the time, and I said, "Hey, these girls are picking on me at school. Can you teach me how to lift some weights to at least get stronger?" Um, and that also tied into my body confidence at the time. I did not feel comfortable in my own skin. And so I wanted to build some shape too,
Yeah.
just for my confidence. But he took me to the gym with him after I would get out of school. We started lifting weights together. And that's where I met my introduction to competing. I met a female bodybuilder. And so she was showing us her photo album at the gym of what she did. And then she said she had a show coming up. And this was around 2000, the fall of 2003. And so me and my dad went to go watch her compete. And after, I want to say like 6 months or so, she suggested that I try it too. And so, like, I did my first show 2004, spring of 2004, like shortly after I turned 16. And then I was just hooked.
So at 16 years old, you started competing? That's really early. Like I,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think that's pretty early. So how did you kind of manage the stress with I know competing can be stressful. Did you feel that stress did you feel that stress early on at 16, or was it that just very smooth at that age?
I'll say there's a lot of what behind what you just said. Like it wasn't stressful to me then because school was the stress and I was trying to escape.
Hmm.
So bodybuilding was my escape. That was a relief from
Hmm.
stress. But also at 16, I wasn't doing or thinking in the way that I am now. So there wasn't really much to be stressed about. Like I was living at my parents' house, so I wasn't worried about surviving on my
So you didn't
own.
have like bills or anything to worry about. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really have much. My whole stress was low, but also competing in 2004 was a different animal than now.
Hmm.
And I was lucky and fortunate to be able to ride on my 16-year-old metabolism and genetics. I didn't even know what a diet was. And I mean, I'm not kidding. We would go to the gym. Some days I would hit up Golden Corral right afterwards and eat a bunch of steaks because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then other days I would stop by Arby's and get a roast beef sandwich and maybe a
Nice.
chicken cordon bleu. And that was my post workout. Uh,
Nice. Nice.
Pop
Yeah.
tarts for breakfast. I really had no idea what I was doing then, but I was just skinny. And
Yeah.
so to build any muscle gave me enough shape to do something with, but I didn't, it wasn't stressful because I honestly didn't have to apply myself the way I do now as I'm older, but also the sport was just a different quality then.
Hmm.
So figure competitors back in 2003 or 4 would be closer to standard to almost bikini competitors now, like pro bikini competitors they're probably more muscular now than they were figure competitors back in 2003.
Yeah. So I definitely want to touch on that because there's a lot has been going on with figure, and just kind of like a lot of conversation going on with different podcasts. And part of the issue that kind of started all this, from what I remember, unless there was something before that, but was that they were pulled from the Arnold. And so like everything kind of hit the fan after that. And so can you kind of give me your take on, what's like going on with figure now, your views on it, like what happened and kind of where we're at?
I would love to give you my take, but I chose not to put my energy into that when it was happening. So
I see. Okay.
I don't know what as far as I read, this was all I needed to read at the time, was I think someone said something about figure having no depth. And to be completely honest with you,
Yes.
I don't know what the hell that was supposed to mean.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual reasons, and I also don't know that it's my business to know. All I knew then was I'd better express gratitude for the opportunities in front of me now, because who knows what happens to our sport from year to year. My concern is I'm not a show promoter. I've never been one. So I don't know what they deal with. But when you think about the opportunity of competing, sometimes I think we take it for granted, even myself. And now that I'm doing podcasts with other people across the world, I'm even more grateful for the opportunities that we have, because I realize that in other countries, there's not the luxury of just stepping on stage when you feel like it.
Sure.
Because the opportunities are limited. And so whatever did happen with the Arnold, I'm not sure. I really hope it comes back, because I think it discouraged a lot of not just competitors who would have wanted to compete in the Arnold, which is something I'd love to do sometime, but I don't know if that opportunity is going to exist for me now. But also other competitors who aspire to be that one day. As these higher quality shows go away, it just worries me what message that's sending to people who are about to turn pro, or they're stepping on stage for the first time, and pro level competitors. I would like more clarification of what needing more depth meant, but at the time I was in prep and I just didn't have the capacity to even put my energy there.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And you're right about your, like, what you said as far as like what they said. Yeah, that was the comment, that there was just not enough like depth in the division, and that's what everybody was kind of upset about, because again, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean by depth? I mean, every division has depth, otherwise it wouldn't, and also like, figure has been around long enough where there's enough depth in there. Like, I mean, you look at like some of the great champions that they've had, Olympia champions, and then runners up in the top fives and all that stuff. And just, it's like, they're in fantastic shape. They're in great, they always come in great conditioning. They're, very balanced. And so I don't really understand, like, I mean, not to say anything about bikini. I mean, they're great too. But if you were gonna say, and there was an issue of like quality depth, I mean, bikini has so many competitors that you could essentially say, okay, well, we can like maybe cut the amount of competitors like at a like show in half or something, and still get like good quality. But figure, they don't have like, there's enough competitors there, but there's not a ton, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, each show, how many do you usually like get, competitors in figure?
Well, there's an interesting trend. I don't know why this is, but earlier in the year, the lists are very low quantity, like 6 to 12 people. If you notice from last weekend at the Pittsburgh Pro, I want to say it was like 12 to 15, maybe, if that.
Okay.
New York Pro is up in the 20s.
Wow.
Weekend. Now, after, it's almost like where that transition where spring and summer hit, the numbers start getting in the 20s. I've been on stage with 50 competitors before. So I would say the average pro class size for figure in this, definitely the second half of the year, is 30 to 50 competitors.
Really? It's that deep? Huh. Well, then that kind of throws out everything I was thinking because, yeah, because my understanding was that there was like just less competitors at each show for figure. But I guess that's not the case. So then it's
Well,
that
especially
really,
with the Arnolds, because the Arnold is invite only, and they only invite what, 10? So
that's
they
true.
get to choose. They get to
That's
choose how
true.
many they invite. So I don't believe that quantity was an issue.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
let me just rephrase that. I don't have enough information to know that quantity was an issue, but quality confuses me because we're talking about the best athletes in the world for any division. You
Right.
point to any division, and we're talking about the same people who show up at the Olympia.
Right. Right.
So again, I don't have enough information
Yeah.
to really formulate that, but it was disappointing to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, and
Yeah.
probably to the most important people that are going to be. I mean, I wasn't on that list to get invited,
Right.
but look at all of the former figure
Yeah.
Arnold people. I mean, you can even take the last 5 years. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I was talking to Sydney at the Arnold when I was there, and I didn't bring up that subject, and maybe it was for the best because it wasn't probably the right environment to do that. But I would be curious, to know how she felt about it. But I imagine it would be the same that most of the girls feel is just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, or at least having a better understanding of what, like, if we know why
Hmm.
that decision was made, that either that would we would do the thing where we're like, okay, that's outside of our control, we can leave it. Or if it's like, what does that mean, that we need to bring better physiques? Does that mean, like, what does depth mean really? Because when I think of depth, my brain can't think of anything but muscular depth, like a
Right.
like a foot. Or do they mean
Hmm.
depth between the spectrum of quality, like poor quality versus high quality,
Yeah.
or marketability? I don't I have no idea.
Well,
So it's like,
see,
how can we bring that back if we don't even know what the problem was?
yeah, and but see that like the interesting thing is that figure is a very balanced like physique. So you guys have the muscle and you have the conditioning, and you don't and one body part is not necessarily overpowering another body part like some of the other divisions. They're that's how they want them to look. There's more
Yeah.
unbalanced. So it's very unique in that sense. So to take something that's kind of like the only division that's presenting that kind of look and take
Mm-hmm.
it out is just a shame because and to me it's like one of my most favorite divisions to watch. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. And as far as like depth of the physiques, I mean, I don't know how much better you can get than some of the top five. I mean, I saw the top five in the Olympia last year. I mean, I don't know what they would need to do look any better than what they looked like.
Without crossing the line.
Right, without
And
not
it's even
eventually
like,
looking like, yeah, like jumping into another class, like a heavier class, like
yeah, and
in their look.
I was
So
equally as disappointed to hear that women's physique wasn't there either. My heart is in figure, but I love women's physique. I could
uh-huh.
watch them all. And so even to see the division above that, for it's like the extremes were cut out, but only for certain. I can't remember what all divisions there were for men, but when it wasn't just
Yeah.
figure, and so
It, it, it does
that
seem
was
like,
because I
yeah, it
love to
does.
watch the women's physique competitors.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does seem like for men it was like a little bit different. Like, they kept the open men's bodybuilding, which is like I guess the cornerstone of the Arnold. So they weren't, they were obviously weren't going to take that away. They had, what is the classic physique, I believe.
Yeah.
So they had that. And I know that's Arnold's like one of his. I think he prefers that division over the men's open now because that's kind of the look that he used to have, when
Right.
he was younger. And then I don't know. I think they had some other ones, but yeah, it's just all together. It was just I wish they will kind of reconsider and bring it back in 24.
That's what I hope too. Whatever the real reason is, I can respect. I can't say I understand because I don't have the knowledge of it, but
Right.
whatever that was, hopefully it was just a one-time thing, and then hopefully that'll promote more growth and excitement if it can come back.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year. this year, next year.
Yeah, next. Yeah, I'm like, I get confused too. I'm like, wait a minute, 2023, 20. When's the next time?
Yeah.
24. Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever whatever the problem was, I hope that there's a solution for that to be an option again.
absolutely. So let me ask you this. Are you just to be transparent? Your coach, like, are you coaching just posing, or do you do like all kinds of coaching?
I do both. I'm a
Okay.
prep coach and I'm a posing coach. So what that
Okay.
means is for my prep clients, I do their diet, their training protocols, but then I also do their posing. But then
Hmm.
separately, I teach posing to other people who either self-coach or they have a coach.
I see.
So I'm
So
kind of two different
right,
types of coach.
right, you've got two different avenues there. But so like, do you see more like, do you see an influx of girls coming into figure now that in your role as like coach and is that what you're seeing, or is it not as not as great as you would expect or want?
Well, for me personally, of both services that I offer, I have a figure is the dominant group
It
of
is.
clients
Okay.
that I have, but I'm a figure competitor. So
Mm-hmm.
if I were a bikini competitor, that could be different.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say right now of my prep and posing clients, a majority is figure, but I do have a lot of bikini and wellness too, and
Mm-hmm.
women's physique. Even though I don't have a strong experience with women's physique, I still teach the posing, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and I've had some women's physique prep clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I even coach guys, but it's rare.
Yeah,
It has to be a really, really good fit for me to do that. But I enjoy teaching all divisions. And when I go to posing clinics, I learn all the divisions posing. So I even go to the
Mm-hmm.
men's divisions for the
Right.
posing course or posing classes for our clinics so that I know what I'm talking about.
Right. So what would be like a good, I guess, what would be a good fit for you to teach a guy how to pose? If that
um,
question makes any sense.
oh,
I don't know.
posing actually is no problem as long as there's respect.
Okay,
Um,
yeah. That's what I thought you were
prep
meaning.
is a different animal though, just because uh I don't know, some men respond very well to female um insights and then some don't.
Sure,
So
sure.
all I need to know is that they respect what I have to say, whether I'm female or not. But some men don't prefer learning from women.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, I could see that happening. Of course, that would most likely be to their detriment, because I know that a lot of women have a lot to offer, even in the men's part of the sport. But who had like for a long time female coach? One of the was it Rolly
It was
Winkler?
Rolly Winkler.
Yeah,
I want that. She is my goal.
yeah,
Grandma. I
yeah,
forgot her real name, but she's such a badass and
yeah.
she's hard nosed and she knows what she's talking about and sets it straight. That's exactly what I mean, though. Like, not all males want that,
Right.
which totally understand. But one of my favorite things that comes out of a male competitor's mouth is, "I know you're a woman, but I'm here to learn.
Yeah,
We're good. We can go
yeah,
from there."
yeah. It
But
definitely
I have
takes some
had some
humility for
resistance.
sure.
Yeah, and I think that actually goes both ways. Like some females prefer male coaches versus females for different reasons. So it is like
Mhm.
cross gender. I wouldn't say it's just guys with
Yeah,
female
yeah.
coaches. Um,
Yeah.
from the little that I know with uh, my minor in psychology, sometimes I wonder if that just goes back to our relationships with our mothers and fathers.
what
Um,
what's funny, you mentioned
Pretty
that
deep seated.
yeah, we were me and my wife were watching this show on Showtime, like it's some kind of like couples therapy or something like that. It's pretty interesting, but it's just this therapist that kind of helps people with their like couples problems or whatever. And it's like it's so funny, but it's kind of like cliche, but it kind of does like always whatever issues they're facing, it's usually like stems from something in the past, and most of the time it's like their family dynamics in the past. So
Right.
like, so
Even if it's subconscious and nobody
all
realizes it
right.
right. I wonder that sometimes because I've actually had younger in my business, I didn't quite understand this, and I would get really frustrated when I would say the same thing to a female competitor 20 times, and then a male would say the exact same thing, and all of a sudden she hears it, and I'm like, this is what I've been saying the whole time. And then after so many years, I realized that female just responds better to male attention and authority,
Right.
which is fine once I understand, because then my feelings don't get hurt because I can't be a man.
Right.
So,
Nothing you can do about that. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
At first I was, what is it that I'm, why aren't you listening when I say it? But then I started to realize, like, oh, I think that does exist, both ways.
Yeah. I also think it's good that you like know that and understand that. And that way, like as a businesswoman, you can just kind of, you can still have your confidence as a coach, and you can just compartmentalize that and just say, look, it's just not a good fit because of this reason, but but I'll just move on to the next client that actually will listen to what I'm saying, is willing
well,
to.
And I have an awesome relationships with male coaches that I can directly send that person to a male coach. And that feels nice to be able to say, okay, you want a male leader here, let me put you in touch with someone who's really good.
100%. Yeah, I've done that before where like somebody comes to me, and usually like I don't like, sometimes I'll deal with some women, but like if they're looking for a female coach, like I'll know people, that I want to send them to because I know they do a good job, so, and that's just the way, it's a good way to kind of, just kind of facilitate their growth,
Yeah. And that's the professional thing to do. It's the right thing to do with integrity, I think.
Right. Have you ever had anybody like try to steal your clients? I know that some coaches say that happens sometimes.
I'm sure there was some mixed intent there along the way. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, because my clients are very honest with me. I did have one situation that one of my clients said that someone tried to solicit her, but to this day I've realized that half the things that came out of her mouth weren't true, so I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was even a real thing. I treat my clients just like any other friendship or relationship. I don't own them. I don't own anybody. And if they want to be here, they will be, and if they don't, they'll leave. And so I just I like to leave it at that, because if it's not a good fit, I don't want us to waste our time or energy or our money.
Right.
So I have full faith in my clients that they're making their own decisions. And if they do decide to part ways with me, if it's for someone who's better fit, great. But I've never had the negative idea that some other coach is going to steal my clients because I don't own my clients.
Right. Yeah. I just hear of coaches like saying, oh, like this guy came up to my client. I was like, I'm going to get you more ripped. I'm going to get, like, I'm going to get
that's the
get
same thing as
better.
Yeah. If you were in a relationship or a marriage or whatever, and some other person came along and said, I can love you better than that. It's what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. What is that?
I'm not worried about temptation. If I'm doing the best job that I can and a client pulls away from me, maybe that's better for both of us.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, and I think you're very professional. And I think in this, in this field, you kind of need that, because it's like I don't want to say it's like an unregulated field, because there's obviously like certifications and different things, but a lot of like what people know is based on their own experience and their own, their own training and so forth, and their own competitions. Like in your case, you've been competing for a long time, how things work and everything like that. So it's like in an environment like that, sometimes people kind of lack professionalism, and it's like it's really nice to see like somebody who's like real professional about this field. They treat it like a doctor would treat their profession, or a lawyer would treat their profession, like it's not personal, it's like, so
I'm still practicing not taking things personally. I'm better at it each year, but at least now I might still feel my feelings.
Sure. Yeah.
But at least now I can kind of follow that up by separating it and then saying it's just business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it hurts and sometimes it's awesome, but it's just business. And
Yeah.
that's something that's really hard for me because I've always been sensitive and probably more emotional about most things in my life than I should
Mhm.
be. So it's taken a lot of effort for me to not get my feelings hurt and keep it for what it is.
Yeah. Do you get invested?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love my clients, and I
Yeah.
so I'm lucky to be in the position now that I get to choose how many clients I take on and who I take on, and always
Mhm.
do an initial consultation, not so much for the information exchange, but to kind of get some feelers of how well we click. And I like to coach in the way that like we're going on a journey here, and we have a
Mhm.
bodybuilding show in front of us, and yes, there's a physical goal, but I want self or personal growth for both of us. And
Mhm.
so I kind of gosh, I don't even want to say choose my clients, but I someone who I click with that I think that we're going to get a lot of growth and be able to bond and at least be able to look back on that time together and say we had a great learning experience. That's what I look
Mhm.
for as a
Yeah, yeah.
coach because as hard and sad as it is, I actually love it when my clients kind of outgrow me.
Okay.
That
Okay.
means we've both done a good job. And some people don't want to compete forever, and some people do want to continue to compete, but they've learned so much about themselves that now they can kind of try it on their own. And to me, that's
Mhm.
like the send off, like the
Yeah.
ultimate goal, for whatever reason that is. And so I still stay in touch with my clients who have my first clients when I first started my business 10 years ago. I still talk to some of them and get to keep up with them and see how they've changed, how their lives have changed. And I'm grateful for that. And it's because we had a good client coach relationship at the time. There's been probably only 3 people that I can think of ever that I can say that we don't stay connected.
Mhm.
Uh, Probably not for positive reasons, but I do think it's probably for the best.
Yeah. 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 That's yeah, it's an amazing thing when you can just when your client can take whatever they learned from you and then use that as the foundation to keep moving
Right.
forward, you know. And it's like
Yeah.
if they're always stuck with you, not that that's wrong or bad, or maybe you're offering other things and you maybe you're developing together for a long time, that could happen. But if they're not like getting anything more and they're just kind of using you as a crutch, it's like it's not really beneficial for them. So, but if you can get them to a point where they feel confident enough to go on their own, you've done your job. I mean, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I take pride in that. Like, that means that I've given everything that I can. And now they have the tools to use however they want to. And I sense those things sometimes. I can tell where we're kind of stuck. And sometimes we can move things along in a different direction that still benefits both of us. But I have had maybe 1 or 2 situations where, to be completely honest, I didn't feel good about taking their money anymore because I didn't know that I was helping them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't know that they needed to go that direction anymore anyway. I actually have a ton of appreciation when someone says, hey, we learned a lot. I'm really happy with this experience, but I'm going to go a different direction in life. And I support them just as much in whatever else they're going to do. But I do have appreciation for that because then I'm not questioning if I did the right thing
Yeah.
or did enough.
It sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like you're saying, well, if somebody's just not fit for bodybuilding, is that what you're referring to? They just need to go like
Or
out
just
of.
maybe that goal has expired in some way or
Mhm.
another. I've had some clients who are they're completely cut out for competing, but they just don't have the desire or they're ready to do other things in life,
I got you.
which I understand. The stage isn't for everybody. And I start every single consultation with this, that we are coming together for an event, and they may try it once and they might hate it.
Mhm.
Or they might think that they want to come together for that event, but then along the way, they're like, you know what, this just doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
And no amount of money or sacrifice is worth it to me if that person isn't happy and healthy.
Right.
So that's another thing where I'm not afraid to pull out the stops anymore, because if someone's health is at question, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, and I don't pretend to be.
Right.
So if they have a serious health issue, I tell them we need to stop
Yeah.
and pause and figure this stuff out. And I had an awesome client last year. She did a competition and she did great. She made so many improvements and she was a perfect client. But she did have some health issues start to arise. And I still try to continue my education and learn from other prep coaches, learn from specialists. I listen to a ton of podcasts and take all kinds of courses,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not a doctor. And so at some
Right.
point, I had exhausted all that I knew. Um, and I cared about her. So I didn't want her to pay me any more money for that when I didn't feel like I could help her anymore. And so I did refer her to another prep coach who does specialize in those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're partnered up and she's making progress again. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's the
Yeah.
right thing
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about health is huge, especially in competitive bodybuilding, because it's like, it's taxing on the body for a variety of reasons. And
Mhm.
so you really, especially as a woman, you really want to like be, cautious with how far you want to take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because so there'll be, there's coaches out there that will take a girl and they will, push the envelope and they will look fantastic. But well, what cost is that down the road? And so those are the things sometimes young girls won't understand that, early on. But
Yeah.
when it happens, when the problems come in, it's too late.
Yeah. And there's a responsibility there. And I know where my comfort zone and my limits are.
Hmm.
And I never tell my clients what to do, but I try to educate them to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And I want them to feel just as comfortable asking me things. And if I don't know the answer, they deserve to know the truth. And I tell them I don't know, but
Right.
let me refer this question to someone else. I always leave the client anonymous, but then I will reach out to other physicians, healthcare specialists, and
Hmm.
I try to learn in the process, but I don't gamble with people's health. And
Yeah.
if we do push things, it's because that was their choice and educated them. But we're very careful, very cautious, because it's their body and they're
Right.
adults.
Right.
It's not my place to
Absolutely.
decide that.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, completely get where you're coming from. Yeah, it's a very touchy subject, and sometimes people are really loosey-goosey with all that stuff, and it's like it's not yeah, it's not a good thing to do for a lot of different reasons. But I want to
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was agreeing
Uh,
with what you said.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask you, to pivot a little bit. You said, well, you can't compete forever. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, how you started competing at 16 years old, given I don't know your age now, and I would never ask you that, but
It's been
but
20 years of competing. Let's just say that.
okay. So how long do you want to do this? How much longer do you want to do this? The stage part of it, of course.
That's a good question because I sometimes I try to put this out of my head because it makes me sad, but I know I'm in the last chapter
Hmm.
now. And I don't have a timestamp on when I'll be done, but I know, especially with getting to the Olympia this past year, that's the end
Hmm.
chapter. And I'm not done writing that out. In fact, I don't even feel like that was a fair assessment for myself. So I won't stop until I can get there again to at least be able to look at myself on the Olympia stage at my best,
Hmm.
because this past time was my absolute worst. So I won't be satisfied until I get that feeling again. But
Right.
I mean, that's a tough question to really think about because my soul isn't tired. My
Hmm.
body's still cooperating better than ever.
Right.
So mentally and physically and emotionally, I feel like I could go for a long time. But
Hmm.
the sacrifice that I've made for 20 years of my 36 years on this earth,
Hmm.
I've got other stuff I want to do in life. And I'm learning from bodybuilding. Like right now, bodybuilding is my platform and it's helped me become who I want to be.
Hmm.
But there are other parts of me that get sacrificed. and not
Sure.
just me, but with the people here on this earth while I have time with them. There are experiences that I want to have. And it's hard to, especially right now. I'm in the peak. This is what I've worked my entire life for, and I'm
Hmm.
here. So I want to enjoy this phase because I don't have much time left in it to do it the way that I want. And whenever I do exit, I want that to be on my terms, not, I don't want the decision to be made for me, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's very delicate. And I don't know how people decide that either. I mean, hopefully I don't uh, have something really bad happen, but you just never know. You never
Yeah.
know when your last time on stage is going to be, either because of life circumstances that aren't in your control, or shows going away, or injuries, or health
Yeah.
problems, or whatever it is. And then also being on your own terms and saying, like, I need to pause, or I need to take care of some other business. So the what makes it even harder is my boyfriend's so amazing and so supportive. He's right there with me, and so it's
Hmm.
almost like I have to call that shot, because it's not even a,
He's not going to put pressure on you to
never. No,
yeah.
he is
Mhm.
100% behind me, and he wouldn't say this, but like, he preps, that's an Olympia prep for both of us, pretty much. Like, he takes care of a lot for me and
Yeah.
supports me in so many ways. And I think we both know that I'm not done anytime soon.
Hmm.
But I also don't know that I want to do this in my 50s.
Right. Right.
There's just other life. I want to go to rock concerts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we talked about
I want to go
earlier.
louder
Yeah.
than life.
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
yeah, and so it would be nice to be flexible, but I actually worry or wonder, I guess. I don't know what kind of a person I am without pressure.
Hmm.
And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and it gets my ass out of bed in the morning.
Mm.
So when I am done competing, I'm going to have to create a new pressure, a new goal. And I don't even know what that is right now.
Yeah, I think that's key. I think what you said is kind of key right there because from what I hear, when people say when they're done with a particular sport, it's like it's almost like there's just a moment like they're fine, they're fine, they're fine. They feel great, everything's great. And then at one moment they just kind of take like a real quick self evaluation and they're like, I I think I'm done. I don't not there's
Yeah.
something about it. They kind of lose that enthusiasm, I guess you could say. So as long as you have it, I guess you can keep going. But once you kind of know when you lost it, and it's hard to explain, I guess, unless you're that athlete.
I will say that I see that what you're talking about a lot too, but I have to talk about this because
Go ahead.
it is one of the most impactful things that I ever got to watch in person. Did you ever see Dexter Jackson's exit speech?
It, I
If you
believe I
haven't,
did in portions of it. Yeah, go ahead.
if you
Uh-huh.
haven't, you should. It
Uh-huh.
was it. He said the magic words that I needed to hear, because I've always wondered that. I've always been,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want my experience to be leaving because of burnout or whatever,
Mhm,
disappointment.
mhm.
Um, I would want to end with peace and
Oh.
closure. And what he said, I'm going to say that I wouldn't even try to paraphrase what he said. It's so significant.
Mhm.
But what I gathered from what he said was that he didn't feel like he had anything left to prove to anybody, including
Mhm.
himself. And that is what keeps me going, is that I still have shit to prove to myself,
Yeah, I
not the
see.
world, not the judges. Now, I do want to prove myself to the judges, especially because that's who's making these decisions.
Right, right.
Um, and I know I'm not at my best yet. I know I've still got a lot of room to
Mhm.
grow and get better. And I can't rest and have peace or closure with myself until I see what that is and find out my full potential. Um, so that's what I ask my clients when they think they're done. I say, "Do you have anything left to prove?" And sometimes they know right away. They say, "Nope, I've proven myself. I don't need it. I don't need to prove anything else to anybody, including myself." And then I'll say, "Okay, we're done." But then
Yeah.
if they hesitate, for even a split second, I'll make them think about it. And I say, you're not done yet.
Yeah.
You might have unfinished business and you might step away for a while, but if there's still something left to prove, you're never going to have peace with that.
Yeah.
And I can't say that those people always get back on stage, but that question lingers.
Right.
And I don't want that. When I'm done with bodybuilding, I want to be done.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to be thinking, what if, like, what if I stayed a few more years? What if, what could I have done? You want to be, I guess, have that level of contentment.
And just to be able to walk away from it and know that you haven't cheated yourself or left, that, again, bodybuilding is a tool, but it teaches you so much. And it's like I'm using that right now to find out what I'm capable of as a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm still gaining and learning so much that even if my physique looked awful, I probably would still do it if I felt like I was still gaining in terms of personal growth.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. If there was something conflicting with that, like it's the same simplification as you go intense and you train in the gym, but you have to have enough recovery capacity without running yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a sign or a few signs when some competitors look at their body and they're like, my body just isn't holding up anymore. And they're not able to recover. It's like the benefit doesn't outweigh the risk anymore. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, there's a flip side to that. You sometimes you'll see athletes stay in a sport obviously longer than they should have, and so like, the flip side to that is that, it's like, well, some people point at those people and will say, oh, well, they should have quit earlier because they would have been better off, but
my question is, who is that better for, the fans and the audience or that person?
Yeah, I think it's you're right. That's a good point. I think it's a perception of the audience and that person's legacy, we could say. I don't know. Is they feel like they're tarnishing their legacy. Usually it's about competitors who are very high level, and then they start dipping down, and then they start losing that traction. They don't do as well, and then eventually they decline. And so most people will say, well, at the peak is where you should stop, right? But to your point, maybe there's something more that the athlete wants to do, and it's not about necessarily ultimately being at the peak at that point in their life. So,
and one of my absolute favorite examples is that was Ronnie Coleman. I have never ever heard one complaint out of that man's mouth on any documentary, YouTube video, in person, whatever. His attitude is just so, like, I want to be like that. That's my goal, is be Ronnie Coleman. Other people can look at that and say, well, he shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done it that way. I've never heard him upset about it. So who wins here?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because I also talked to Ronnie at the last Arnold too. We have
so awesome.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, and he's like the sweetest guy I've ever met. Such a nice guy. But I always remember, to your point, that he never complained. When he was placing low, all the way up to when he won the Olympia, and then after, like, I'm in all that time from bottom to top, to then not competing, to that, being beaten by Jay, then to having back problems, multiple back surgeries and everything, never once, complained. And I mean, yeah, that's definitely a testament to his character, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And it also kind of brings up the question of, like, are we talking in terms of sport or a personal lesson?
Yeah.
Because it is easy to, well, it's actually probably easier to accept the measurements in terms of sport. Like, you have rankings to go by. Like, you place lower and lower and lower, you visibly looked worse.
Right.
We can see those things, but we can't see the state that person is in, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
so it's kind
Yeah.
of like it is easy to say, well, they would have performed better or ranked better, but does that really mean that they were better off if they would have stopped sooner?
Right, right. 100%. Yeah, because that's correct. There's a difference between concrete placings
Mhm.
and then the state that the person's in, which is basically, what you just said. I just repeated you.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. So I guess you'll know when you get there.
Yeah, it's just cool to
You've got many more years hopefully to continue doing it.
yeah, to figure it out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just love different perspectives of that.
Sure, sure, sure. So, you mentioned something about not looking your best. I don't go like too deep into it because I know time is of the essence. But you said at the Olympia you weren't, you didn't do as well. Was there a reason? Like, did you feel like your peak week wasn't, good, or like
No,
what
my peak
happened?
week was absolutely perfect until the day before prejudging, and I can't pinpoint which it was, but it doesn't matter. I got either food poisoning or that stomach flu.
Oh man.
So 24 hours out was just a shit show from 9 a.m. to through through, through all of it. But
Oh
everything
my
was
god.
so perfect before that. That was what was so frustrating about it.
Oh, that's got to be demoralizing when you're just everything's going so well and then
And
something like that hits
the
you.
stupidest part to me was it took me 20 damn years to get there.
Hmm.
And then that happened.
What
And so
did you eat something or what? Like what do you think it was
well,
from?
I had been out there for 2 weeks, and the first week I stayed at a different place.
Hmm.
And I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it was the exact same food I always eat, same
Yeah.
everything. And the week before I had no problems. But when we were trying to figure out what was going on, and this is where I don't know what exactly what it was. I mean,
Hmm.
I would assume it was food poisoning based off of
Hmm.
the symptoms, but there was that weird stomach thing going
Yeah,
around, and
yeah, yeah.
you're in Vegas with a bunch of competitors and people, so it could have been that. That's why I don't want to say it was this, but in the mix of everything, I remember Derek, my boyfriend, opening the refrigerator to the door, and I was like, "What is that smell?"
Oh, wow. Okay.
It smelled so bad, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that my food?" And he felt the I had energy drinks in the fridge, and we felt
Mhm.
the aluminum, the cans, they were hardly even cool,
So the fridge
like they were
wasn't
almost room
working.
temperature.
Wow.
So what I assumed what had happened was when I switched hotels and put my same food in the different refrigerator for on
Mhm.
Monday, by Thursday, I don't know that that food had been kept cold enough. And
Yeah.
it was just, I mean,
Yeah.
that would
That's
have been my assumption, but I still
that
don't want, I don't want to point fingers or place blame on anything. It's just,
Oh, for sure.
it was stupid either way.
I get what you're saying, but yeah, what you're describing 100% could be it because so like my wife is a nurse and then I'm in nursing school myself and like
Oh, cool.
we're going through like microbiology and this and that and people have this layman's people even myself before I found this out have this idea that like if something's in the fridge then it's golden, it's perfect. It's like as soon as like the fridge helps like slow down the bacteria and stuff in your
Bacteria growth.
food, yeah, but it doesn't prevent it. And especially in your case, if your fridge isn't like functioning properly, that can happen very quick. So like it's 100% that could have caused your issue.
And we didn't know this. Like, and I've traveled for shows for 5 years now and never had one problem. But when we thought that's what it was, I had talked to a few other competitors, and we looked it up because someone said something. I was like, how true is this? And we looked it up, and I guess a lot of refrigerators in Vegas are just set to medium to keep the drinks cool. I don't know if that's just a Vegas thing, but I had never,
But
for the rest of my life, I
that's
will check
weird.
the refrigerator temperature is going to be the first thing I do when I get into a hotel because, yeah, I don't know if that was just like Vegas in general, but some other competitors said the same thing, that their fridges weren't cold. I don't know if they got food poisoning or not, but
Yeah.
they caught on to it at least. So, but
Wild. Yeah.
yeah, it's what's stupid about that is I want to say like 2 years ago here at home, very similar situation. it was in the middle of summer and I just got so sick. I thought it was from the heat. Like I had a really intense workout and I was like, I just don't feel right. And I got sick. And then my boyfriend realized our refrigerator had gone out and we didn't know it. So
Wow.
I think that's why I think that was
Made
probably
you,
the most similar case.
yeah,
That
made you think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
you think I've
apparently
learned by now.
you're having run-ins with the fridges. We need to like
Yeah, these refrigerators are out to get me.
that's too funny. But I'm glad you're, it didn't cause any more long-lasting problems because it could get you really sick too. So,
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah, it could have been worse.
yeah.
I don't know how, but it could have been worse. And so I just take that as that was a cool Olympia test run and I need to
Sure.
try again.
Sure. So
I need a do over.
for the next time you're at the Olympia, now So
Right.
yeah. So what does your show schedule look like for like this year?
I actually don't know right this second.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
still to be determined.
Got it. Got it. So is it to be determined like which show, or is it to be determined whether you're gonna compete or not?
Right now I have to kind of say both.
Okay. Okay.
With the elimination of the point system, I feel a lot differently about heading into shows this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I might prep for a show and then I might decide it's not something I want to do.
I got it. So there's a more of a strategic outlook on each show now that the point system is not in play.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can't just smash every show and get as many points as you can. So
yeah, it's almost like I have to play a different way this time, which is good. It's fine. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But I guess what I mean is it has to be worth it to me to step on stage.
Sure.
As opposed to probability.
Right. Well, there's a lot you're giving up, right? I mean, not just the prep but there's money involved in prepping for a show. There's time, sacrifices, everything like that. So
yeah, and I mean, my personal thing is if as long as I'm showing up better than I'm gaining. Mm-hmm. If I show up worse or I regress, that's where I need to ask myself why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So not placements aside and going up against other competitors aside, I need to be able to look at myself and say, yeah, I keep getting better, or I need to reconsider. And so even if I did step on stage this year and I didn't look better than I did last year, that might be enough reason for me to change my mind and say, okay, I'm going to take the rest of the year off. But if I do step on stage and I'm definitely better than I was before, that's enough reason for me to try,
Yeah. What is better for you in the sense that have you you feel like you've tapped out your like physique in the muscular sense and you want to you really were focused on condition, or you feel like you're still like growing into your look?
I'm not anywhere near my potential. I know that.
Got it.
I don't know genetically how big I can get, but from what the judges have told me over the years is I don't need to be bigger. It's just filling in some gaps of symmetry. And I totally agree. I'm not a big person. I'm 5'2.5". So I don't know that size is in my game right now, but my back has always been a little bit behind because I have scoliosis and I was in denial about it for a really long time. And only 2 years ago did I decide to accept it and address it and start doing things about it. So my back training has been off for at least 18 years. I can say that. And so that's generally the feedback, is that I always needed to get more width and depth to my back. Some judges have said a little bit more quads, which I can agree with. And so if that's kind of the hopeful piece, is that I have very specific points to bring up, and there's always something that I haven't tried yet.
Right.
And each year I learn more and I can address my own personal issues better now. I've been seeing a chiropractor and a PT for my scoliosis, and that's helped tremendously. So that's where I know there's hope, because it's like I haven't maxed out that yet. The conditioning piece is interesting because because I'm not big, I do have to play the conditioning game more importantly. and I have trouble looking at my body and saying I've hit my peak condition. I don't think I've even seen myself in the maximum capability of conditioning for figure.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, genetically, unfortunately, I think we got really close to that for the Olympia, but it didn't show because I wasn't filled out
Right.
properly. But in the days before the Olympia, I remember thinking like, oh, this is where I need to be. It was a wake up to
Mm-hmm.
how lean I actually need to shoot for, and also to believe that it's possible. Now I have that visual in the measurements to say that's where I need to be if I'm going to step on stage again. But even so, I still think I still have room to push without crossing any boundaries for figure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't believe that I've hit that maximum conditioning for figure where it starts to detract from a figure look and starts to look like a underdeveloped tiny physique competitor.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I'm looking at like on your Instagram, the second picture that's on there from the Olympia. I mean, you look pretty in good condition. I know you've had a lot of trouble with that Olympia, but I mean, it's not, it's nothing to sneeze at. So, I mean, I definitely think it's,
Appreciate that.
yeah, I
It turned
definitely,
out better than I thought it would, but I can look at that picture. My problem is I have to really be filled out just right, because if I'm not filled out enough, if you're looking at that picture, it's like
mm-hmm.
I lost my overall shape. Like I definitely wasn't full enough. I could hardly get a pump.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that nice full 3D density going on, and for the details to show, I do need to be filled out properly, not too much, to where I'm spilling over.
Right. So you're saying that like as far as condition, it may be not so much more on during that show, but because you couldn't fill out through the the stomach ailment, it just doesn't give that look, like it doesn't give that
Yes.
illusion of like a 3D kind of effect.
Yeah, and it's hard because I can look at that picture and thank the universe that I showed up tight, but I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't detailed. Those
Okay,
details weren't popping that
got it,
day. Um,
got it.
and it always shows in my glutes. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
know where I'm filled out, because my glutes look night and day different if I have carbs or not.
I see.
And not only that, I couldn't even get fluids in really.
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
think that kind of saved me. Actually, I was dehydrated.
So you were dry because of that.
I was dry, but I didn't. My electrolytes weren't as they should have been for sure. Um,
Did you
Carbs.
did you
I was.
cramp?
I was. No,
No.
no. It's almost like I couldn't feel anything really.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I remember trying to get a pump backstage, and I just stopped because I was like, "This is useless.
Yeah.
I'm just wasting energy at this point. The little energy that I could summon up."
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it kind of sucked because I was so depleted leading up to that we got maybe one or two carb meals in before everything. I started to lose everything. Um, and I was excited as I started to fill out even just a little bit
Mhm.
from, I
Mhm.
mean, we maybe got like maybe 100 grams of carbs in, and we're pushing 300 and up.
Yeah.
Um, so to maybe get 100 carbs in my body and I started to see some change, I was pumped. I was really excited, and then it just declined.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
think that actually kept me from, at least I can look at those pictures and say I wasn't spilled over, but I start to look kind of soft, like almost
Mhm.
skinny fat, if I'm not carved and pumped and my electrolytes are as they should be. That makes a
Yeah.
huge difference on my physique. I think because I'm not super big or muscular.
Yeah. No, I mean I could understand. Like I understand your point and all that. Yeah, I mean it definitely sounds like you were right there, and then it all kind of
Never
just went
know.
downhill. But on the upside, you'll have people that go through that kind of experience, and that makes them, kind of tears them down. And it seems like it makes, while you're obviously, upset about it. There, you seem like you're like excited to get back there and do it again, because
Yes.
minus this one thing that happened, you come in really great,
Yeah, hopefully no
So,
more mishaps, but you're
yeah,
right. That's the way I look at it. It's like, okay, I have to try again.
yeah. You're too close not to give it another shot, so
Right.
yeah. For sure. For sure. Well, Autumn, I really appreciate your time. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I enjoyed our chat. That was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. And guys, I'm gonna link everything at the bottom as far as Autumn's Instagram, her posing information, her coaching information, so you can reach out to her directly. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thank you,
All
Armin.
right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.